So one of the biggest hallmarks of the democracy here in the United States and the Constitution and the government that we have created under that is that we have majority rule. Rules are made by the people who have the most power, by the people who have the most people on their side, either by voting or, in the case of Congress, whichever in today's case, whichever political party has more members, they get to set the tone and make the rules. So how do we provide and how do we protect the rights and liberties of those who don't share the same opinions of those of the majority? How can someone who has a minority view be protected? How can minorities themselves be protected? Well, that's where our Bill of Rights steps in. The first and arguably one of the most important rights that we have under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is your First Amendment. The First Amendment is your right to free speech, freedom of assembly, and right to petition the government. Under the First Amendment, the United States government cannot support, endorse, or create an official religion of the United States. All religions must be treated equally and fairly. You cannot be persecuted because of your religious beliefs. You also cannot be denied services. You cannot be denied a place in our government or have to take a religious test in order to be a United States citizen. So there are a lot of people who argue that the First Amendment is also freedom from religion. The problem with that argument is that it's really hard to have freedom from religion in a country that a majority of its people espouse a particular faith. Not all of them may be practicing in that faith. Not all of them may be as faithful to that faith as they should be. Kind of a weird way to phrase that. But most Americans believe that they have one faith. But the United States recognizes that. The United States government appreciates that. However, it cannot have an official state religion. In doing so, it keeps the government out of religion and tries to keep those separate. It's where our separation of church and state comes from. The idea that the government does not interfere with religious things, and that the religious things don't try to interfere with the government, and that the government doesn't control your religion or put conditions on it or put limits on how you worship. Those are all things that are protected under the Constitution. Now, this, like all rights, is not absolute. You can't claim that your religion gives you the right to not pay taxes. You can't claim that your religion gives you the right to unalive certain groups of people that you disagree with. It's not absolute. There are limits on what you have. And it's the same thing with all facets of the First Amendment, which we're going to cover in our next video.